Good morning everyone. I am Asma, Zoology faculty from Sri NRI Junior College. Today in this video I am going to explain you about important short answers from first year zoology, that is structural organization in animals. ఈ రోజు మనము ఈ వీడియోలో ఫస్ట్ ఇయర్ జువాలజీలోని స్ట్రక్చరల్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్ చాప్టర్ నుంచి ఇంపార్టెంట్ షార్ట్ ఆన్సర్స్ చదవబోతున్నాము. ఓకే, ఇన్ టుడేస్ వీడియో we are going to discuss about the important short answers from structural organization in animals, that is one of the chapter from the first year zoology, one of the second chapter from the first year zoology. Okay, in that under the structural organization, one of the important SAQ, that is short answer, is skeletal muscles. Skeletal muscle. Describe the structure of skeletal muscle or stripped muscle or striated muscle. It is one of the important 4 marks question. It is one of the important 4 marks question. Okay, that is skeletal muscle, structure of skeletal muscle or stripped muscle or striated muscle. It is also known as striated muscle. Skeletal muscle, otherwise called striated muscle or stripped muscle. Today in this video we are going to discuss about the structure of skeletal muscle or stripped muscle or striated muscle. Okay, this skeletal muscle is found attached to our skeletal system, means this skeletal muscle is attached to our bone. Skeletal muscles are attached to bones by tendons. These skeletal muscles are attached to bones by tendons. Okay, next the skeletal muscle is made up of with many muscle cells, many muscle cells. Skeletal muscle is made up of with many muscle cells. These muscle cells otherwise called muscle fibers. The skeletal muscle cells also known as muscle fibers or sarcocytes or myocytes. What are the other names of the skeletal muscle cells? Muscle fibers or sarcocytes or myocytes. Here sarcocytes, sarco is a Greek word which means muscle, and myocyte, in myocyte, myo means muscle, it is a Latin word, In myocyte, myo means muscle, it is a Latin word, myo is a Latin word which means muscle, and muscle cells also known as sarcocytes. Sarco is a Greek word which means muscle, The study of muscles is called myology. Okay, actually muscular tissue is mesodermal in origin. Okay, muscles are 3 types. They are skeletal muscles, smooth muscles and cardiac muscles. This muscular tissue is derived from mesoderm. In today's class we are going to discuss about the structure of skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle otherwise called stripped muscle or striated muscles. Okay, here skeletal muscle is made up of with many muscle cells. Muscle cells otherwise called muscle fibers or sarcocytes or myocytes. All are same. Muscle cells or muscle fibers or sarcocytes or myocytes. Okay, now we will discuss about the structure of skeletal muscle. Okay, the skeletal muscle cells are long and cylindrical. Skeletal muscle, this is the diagram of skeletal muscle. All of you look at the diagram. Okay, Here this skeletal muscle cells are long and cylindrical. They are long and cylindrical and they are unbranched. They are unbranched and they are multinucleate. Many nuclei are present and peripherally arranged nucleus is present. Here in the muscle cell cytoplasm is present and this nucleus is arranged peripherally in the cytoplasm. Many nuclei are present, hence multinucleate condition. These cells are long and cylindrical, and cells are unbranched, okay, and they are multinucleate. What shape of nucleus is present? Oval shaped nucleus is present and these nuclei are arranged in the peripheral cytoplasm. Now listen, this muscle cell or muscle fiber is covered by a protective membrane. It is called sarcolemma, or plasma membrane of the muscle cell is called sarcolemma. Plasma membrane of the muscle cell is called sarcolemma. What is sarcolemma? The plasma membrane of the muscle cell is called sarcolemma. Next, the cytoplasm of the muscle cell. Cytoplasm of the muscle cell is called sarcoplasm. Plasma membrane of the muscle cell is called sarcolemma and cytoplasm of the muscle cell is called sarcoplasm. Next, in the sarcoplasm, endoplasmic reticulum is present. This endoplasmic reticulum of the muscle cell is called sarcoplasmic reticulum. What is sarcoplasmic reticulum? Endoplasmic reticulum of the muscle cell. Endoplasmic reticulum of the muscle cell is called sarcoplasmic reticulum. What is sarcolemma? Plasma membrane of the muscle cell is called sarcolemma. Next, cytoplasm of the muscle cell is called sarcoplasm and endoplasmic reticulum of the muscle cell is called sarcoplasmic reticulum. Next, in the muscle cell, many sarcosomes also present. Sarcosomes. What are sarcosomes? Mitochondria of the muscle cell. Mitochondria of the muscle cell is called sarcosomes. Okay. Next, in the cytoplasm of the muscle cell, sarcosomes are present. Sarcosomes are nothing but mitochondria of the muscle cell. In the sarcoplasmic reticulum of the muscle cell, calcium ions are stored. These calcium ions are useful for muscle contraction. Sarcoplasmic reticulum of the muscle cells stores calcium ions which are useful for muscle contraction and mitochondria of the muscle cell is called sarcosomes. Okay. In the cytoplasm, that is in the sarcoplasm of the muscle cell, many parallelly arranged fibrils are present. They are called myofibrils or myofilaments. Myofibrils or myofilaments. Okay. In these myofibrils, many thick and thin myofilaments are present. These myofibrils have many thick and thin myofilaments. The thick filaments are made up of with myosin protein. They are made up of with myosin protein and thin myofilaments are made up of with actin protein. Okay. Inside the sarcoplasm, many myofibrils are present. These myofibrils have thick and thin myofilaments. These thick myofilaments are made up of with myosin protein and thin myofilaments are made up of with actin filaments. Okay. Next, this regular arrangement of myosin and actin filaments is responsible for alternate dark and light bands of the striated muscles. In striated muscles, alternately arranged dark bands and light bands are present. These dark bands are nothing but thick filaments. Thick filaments are also called dark bands and thin filaments also called light bands. Okay. This regular arrangement of myosin and actin filaments is responsible for alternate dark and light bands of a striated muscles. Hence, this muscle is called striated muscles or striped muscles. Dark bands and light bands are arranged alternately. Dark bands are called A band. A band or anisotrophic band. A band or anisotrophic band. Dark bands are called A band or anisotrophic band, and light bands are called I band or isotrophic band. A band, dark band. I band, light band. A band means anisotrophic band. It is made up of with myosin protein, and I band, which is isotrophic band, which is light band, it is made up of with actin protein. Okay, this regular arrangement of myosin and actin filaments is responsible for alternate dark and light bands of the striated muscles. Hence, this muscle is called stripped muscle or striated muscle. Why it is called skeletal muscle? Because this muscle is found attached to our bones by tendons, okay, it is found attached to our skeleton, hence called skeletal muscles. How these muscles are attached to bones? By tendons, okay. This muscle, skeletal muscle cells, otherwise called muscle fibers, they are also known as sarcocytes or myocytes, and this muscle cell is long and cylindrical and unbranched, and it is multinucleate. Many nuclei are present. And what is the shape of the nucleus? Oval shaped, and these nuclei are arranged in the peripheral cytoplasm. Here syncytium is formed. Here multinucleate condition means syncytium. Here why this cardiac why this striped muscle cell is multinucleate? Because embryonic mononucleate myoblast, this striped muscle cells, skeletal muscle cells or stripped muscle cells are formed by the union of many embryonic mononucleate myoblast. Each embryonic myoblast consists of only single nucleus. Each embryonic myoblast consists of single nucleus. How these muscle cells are formed? These muscle cells are formed due to the union of many embryonic mononucleate myoblast. Means here union of many myoblast cells means many nuclei are present in each myoblast consists of one nuclei. Like that, many myoblast consists of many nuclei. How these muscle cells are formed? They are formed by the union of embryonic mononucleate myoblast. Many embryonic mononucleate myoblast unite and forms muscle fiber or muscle cells. Hence, skeletal muscle fiber is multinucleate. Here, how this muscle fiber is formed? It is formed by the union of many embryonic mononucleate myoblast. So, it shows multinucleate condition. Okay. Next, the plasma membrane of the muscle cell is called sarcolemma. Next, cytoplasm is called sarcoplasm, and endoplasmic reticulum of the muscle cell is called sarcoplasmic reticulum, and mitochondria present in the muscle cell is called sarcosomes, and inside the cytoplasm many parallelly arranged fibrils are present. They are called myofibrils. These myofibrils have thick and thin myofilaments. These thick myofilaments are made up of with myosin protein, and thin myofilaments are made up of with actin protein. Okay. The skeletal muscles are voluntary in function. The skeletal muscles are voluntary in function. They are found attached to our skeletal system. Okay. They are under the conscious control of an organism. Under the conscious control of the organism. Hence, this muscle is called voluntary muscles. These voluntary muscles contract quickly and fatigue quickly. ఇవి తొందరగా కాంట్రాక్ట్ అవుతాయి, తొందరగా అలసిపోతాయి. They fatigue quickly means they are tired quickly. Okay, they shows limited power of regeneration. This skeletal muscle shows limited power of regeneration. Here in regeneration, one special cells which are involved in the regeneration of muscle cells is satellite cells. These satellite cells are nothing but stem cells. They are quiescent cells, they are inactive cells, they are stem cells. When these muscle cells are damaged, what happens? These satellite cells, nothing but stem cells, become active and regenerate the damaged muscle cells, but they shows very little power of regeneration. Here regeneration in the skeletal muscles is due to the presence of satellite cells. They are nothing but stem cells. Okay, limited power of regeneration is seen. Next, these skeletal muscles are innervated by somatic nervous system. The functioning of this skeletal muscle is under the control of somatic nervous system. Somatic nervous system, they are also called voluntary muscles. They are under the conscious control of an organism. Okay. Next, regular arrangement of myosin and actin filament is responsible for the alternate dark and light bands of the striated muscles. Hence, this muscle is called stripped muscle or striated muscles. Here, dark band, otherwise called A band. Dark band is called A band or anisotropic band. It is made up of with myosin protein, and light bands are called I band or isotropic band, which is made up of with actin protein. Okay. Next, we will discuss about the transverse section of muscle. Transverse section of muscle. Here, muscle is made up of with many muscle cells. This muscle is made up of with many individual muscle cells. Group of or bundles of muscle cells are called fascicle. Bundles of muscle cells are called fascicles. Each muscle is made up of with many individual muscle cells. The bundles of muscle cells are called fascicles. These are individual muscle cells. Okay. This group of muscle cells are called, or bundles of muscle cells are called fascicle. What is fascicle? Bundles of muscle cells are called fascicles. Many fascicles together form a muscle. Many fascicles together form a muscle. Muscle is made up of with many muscle cells. Many muscle cells are muscle fibers. Okay. Bundles of muscle cells are called fascicle. Okay. The group of fascicles together form a muscle. Means inside the muscles many fascicles are present. All these fascicles together form muscle. What is fascicle? Bundles of muscle cells are called fascicles. Okay. Here individual muscle cell is covered by thin connective tissue membrane. This thin connective tissue membrane which covers the individual muscle cell is called endomysium. Each individual muscle cell is covered with thin connective tissue membrane. It is called endomysium. Next, each fascicle is covered by another thin connective tissue membrane. It is called perimysium. What is perimysium? Each fascicle is covered by a thin connective tissue membrane, it is called perimysium. Individual muscle cell is covered by a thin connective tissue membrane called endomysium. Each fascicle is covered by a thin connective tissue membrane called perimysium. Next, all the fascicles are covered by epimysium. Epimysium means muscle is covered by a thin connective tissue membrane called epimysium. Muscle is covered by a thin connective tissue membrane called epimysium. How muscle is formed? Bundles of fascicles together form a muscle. What is fascicle? Bundles of muscle cells. Bundles of muscle cells are called fascicle. Okay, each fascicle is covered by perimysium. All the fascicles together form a muscle, and muscle is covered by a thin connective tissue membrane called epimysium. Epimysium. This is about the transverse section of muscle. Once again I am repeating, individual muscle cell is covered by a thin connective tissue membrane called endomysium. What is fascicle? Bundles of muscle cells are called fascicle. Each fascicle is covered by perimysium, a thin connective tissue membrane called perimysium. Entire muscle is covered by a thin connective tissue membrane called epimysium. These fascicles are held together. These fascicles are held together by fascia. These fascicles are held together by fascia. What are fascicles? Bundles of muscle cell. This is about the transverse section of muscle cell. With that, description of skeletal muscle is completed. Now we will discuss cardiac muscle. Now we will discuss about the structure of cardiac muscle. It is another important 4 marks question from structural organization in animals. That is second chapter from first year zoology. Cardiac muscle. It is also very important 4 marks question for IP. Okay, cardiac muscle. Here human heart, wall of the human heart consists of 3 layers, no? That is epicardium, myocardium and endocardium. In that myocardium, it is the middle layer of the wall of the heart. Middle layer of the wall of the heart is called myocardium. Myocardium of the vertebrate heart. Myocardium of the vertebrate heart is made up of with cardiac muscle. Which muscle? Cardiac muscle. Once again I am repeating. Here in the wall of the heart of vertebrates, in the wall of the heart of the vertebrates, 3 layers are present. Outer layer is called epicardium, middle layer is called myocardium and inner layer is called endocardium. Here middle layer of the wall of the heart, that is nothing but myocardium. This myocardium is made up of with cardiac muscle. Myocardium of the vertebrate heart is made up of with cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle. Okay. Next this cardiac muscle structurally resembles skeletal muscle or stripped muscle, but functionally it resembles smooth muscle. Functionally it resembles smooth muscle or visceral muscle. Here this cardiac muscle resembles structurally resembles skeletal muscle, because this cardiac muscle also consists of myofibrils in which alternately arranged dark and light bands are present. Hence this cardiac muscle also consists of striation, or it is also a stripped muscle or striated muscle, because it also consists of alternately arranged dark bands and light bands. Dark band is called A band and light bands are called I band. Dark bands are made up of with myosin protein and light bands are made up of with actin proteins. Okay, here this cardiac muscle structurally similar to the skeletal muscle or striped muscle, because in this also alternately arranged dark and light bands are present. Okay, hence this cardiac muscle structurally similar to the skeletal muscle or stripped muscle. Next, this cardiac muscle is functionally similar to visceral muscle or smooth muscle, because visceral muscles means they are found attached to our internal organs. The functioning of visceral muscle, they are involuntary in function. Here cardiac muscle also involuntary in function. So these cardiac muscles are functionally resembles smooth muscles or visceral muscles. Means cardiac muscle is involuntary in function. They are not under the conscious control of an organism. They are not under the conscious control of the organism. So cardiac muscles are involuntary in function like that of the smooth muscle or visceral muscles. Hence cardiac muscles are functionally similar to visceral muscles or smooth muscles, and structurally similar to skeletal muscles or stripped muscles, because in these muscles also striations or strips are present, dark, alternately arranged dark and light bands are present. Okay, here now we will discuss about the structure of cardiac muscle. The cells of the cardiac muscle are short, cylindrical. They are short, cylindrical. The cells are short, cylindrical, cells are short, cylindrical and branched, The ends of the cardiac muscle cells are branched. These branches of one cardiac muscle cell is connected with the adjacent cardiac muscle cell. These cardiac muscle cells are short, cylindrical and branched. The ends of the cardiac muscle cells are branched, and these are short, cylindrical, and they consist of single nucleus or two nuclei. Two nuclei or single nuclear, one nucleus or two nuclei are present. If single nucleus present, it is called mononucleate. If two nuclei present, binucleate. So this cardiac muscle cell is mononucleate or binucleate. Mononucleate or binucleate. If two nuclei are present, binucleate. If single nucleus is present, mononucleate. But skeletal muscles are multinucleate. Okay, these cardiac muscle cells are short, cylindrical and branched. The ends of the cardiac muscle cells are branched. These branches are connected with the adjacent cardiac muscle cells. These cardiac muscle cells, also known as myocardial cells. Myocardial cells or cardiac muscle cells are cardiomyocytes. Cardiac muscle cells, also known as myocardial cells, are cardiomyocytes. These cardiomyocytes or myocardial cells are short and cylindrical and branched. They consist of single nucleus or two nuclei. If single nucleus, they are called mononucleate. If two nuclei, they are called binucleate. Okay. Next, these cells, ends of these cells consist of branches. These branches of one muscle cell, one cardiac muscle cell is connected to the branches of adjacent muscle cells and forms gap junctions. The ends of cardiac muscle cells are branched. These branches are connected with the adjacent cardiac muscle cells and forms gap junctions. These gap junctions otherwise called electrical synapses. These gap junctions otherwise called electrical synapses. These gap junctions are useful for rapid conduction of impulses. These electrical synapses or gap junctions are useful for rapid conduction of impulses. Next, this cardiac muscle is involuntary in function. Involuntary in functions mean these muscles are not under the conscious control of an organism. Not under the conscious control of organism. Here, power of regeneration. There is no power of regeneration in cardiac muscle. Remember this point. One of the important point. No power of regeneration in cardiac muscle cells. Power of regeneration is 0. Okay, no power of regeneration. But in stripped muscles, limited power of regeneration is seen due to presence of stem cells like satellite cells. But for cardiac cells, there is no power of regeneration. Okay. Next, this cardiac muscle cells. Cardiac muscle cells consists of the dark lines present across the cardiac muscle cells. Dark lines present along the cardiac muscle cells are called intercalated disc. What are intercalated discs? Dark lines present across the cardiac muscle cells are called intercalated disc. Presence of intercalated disc is the characteristic feature of cardiac muscle. One of the important characteristic feature of cardiac muscle is presence of intercalated disc. They are also called IDs. They are also called IDs. IDs means intercalated disc. These intercalated discs are nothing but dark lines across the cardiac muscles. The presence of intercalated disc is the characteristic feature of cardiac muscles. Okay, this intercalated disc also consists of 3 types of cell junctions. Intercalated disc also consists of 3 cell junctions. They are desmosomes, gap junctions, and fascia adherens. Fascia adherens. Intercalated disc consists of 3 types of cell junctions. This is not important for IP, this is only for NEET. This IDs, nothing but intercalated disc, consists of 3 cell junctions. They are desmosomes, gap junctions, and fascia adherens. This is only for NEET. These cell junctions which are present in intercalated disc are important only for NEET. What are the 3 cell junctions present in the intercalated disc? They are desmosomes, gap junctions, and fascia adherens. Okay. Next, intercalated disc. In which gap junctions are present? No, these gap junctions are useful for rapid conduction of impulses. Rapid conduction of impulses. Okay. Next, gap junctions otherwise called electrical synapses. Electrical synapses. These gap junctions are electrical synapses produces impulses spontaneously. Produces impulses spontaneously. This cardiac muscle produces impulses spontaneously. These cardiac muscle cells are autorhythmic. They regulate themselves. They themselves contract. Ivi swatahaga spontaneous ga contract avutayi anamata. They are autorhythmic. The contraction of these muscle fibers is not under the nerve stimulus. They are autorhythmic. They are autorhythmic. This cardiac muscle cell is made up of with cardiomyocytes. For the stimulation of cardiac muscles, there is no requirement of external stimuli. So they are autorhythmic. This cardiac muscle acts as pacemaker. Cardiac muscle acts as pacemaker. What is pacemaker? The structure which initiates contraction of the heart. Here pacemaker is nothing but modified cardiac muscle. Here cardiac muscle acts as pacemaker which produces impulses spontaneously, and it is autorhythmic. Autorhythmic. They themselves contract, and the heart of vertebrates is called myogenic heart. Myogenic heart. Okay. They require stimulation from muscle fibers, not from the nerve fibers. They require stimulation from muscle fibers, not from the nerve fibers. So this type of heart is called myogenic heart. Myogenic heart. Next, heart shows wholehearted. Cardiac muscle shows wholehearted contraction. Cardiac muscle shows wholehearted contraction. Wholehearted contraction. Here wholehearted contraction means excitation of one muscle cell. Excitation means stimulation of one muscle cells results in the excitation of all the myocardial cells. All the myocardial cell. If one myocardial cell is excited, what happens? This excitation spreads in all the myocardial cells. So here cardiac muscle shows wholehearted contraction. Excitation of one muscle, one cardiac muscle cell results in the excitation of the all myocardial cells. Hence this cardiac muscle shows wholehearted contraction, and it is also described as functional syncytium. Functional syncytium. This cardiac muscle allows to contract as a unit. Here functional syncytium means all the cardiac muscle cells contract as a unit. Okay, and this IDs, what are IDs? Intercalated disc, dark lines present across the cardiac muscle is called intercalated disc. This intercalated disc allows cardiac muscle cells to contract as a unit. They contract as a unit. Hence this cardiac muscle is called functional syncytium. Why it is called wholehearted contraction? Because the excitation of one muscle cells results in the excitation of all the myocardial cells. Hence it is called as wholehearted contraction. Oka cardiac muscle cell ni excite చేసినప్పుడు ప్రేరేపించినప్పుడు ఆ ప్రేరణ అనేది అన్ని cardiac muscle cells కి చేరుతుంది. So here cardiac muscle shows wholehearted contraction, means excitation of one cardio muscle cell results in the excitation of all the myocardial cells. Hence this is called wholehearted contraction. Okay, due to which cardiac muscle cells contract as a unit. Hence it is called functional syncytium. Next, cardiac muscle is highly resistant to fatigue. Highly resistant to fatigue. Why it is highly resistant to fatigue? Because it consists of numerous sarcosomes. Cardiac muscle consists of numerous sarcosomes. What are sarcosomes? Sarcosomes are nothing but mitochondria of the muscle cell. Mitochondria of the muscle cell is called sarcosomes. Here muscle cell is highly resistant to fatigue. Muscle cell is highly resistant to fatigue. Why? Because more number of or numerous sarcosomes are present. Sarcosomes means mitochondria. Mitochondria of the muscle cell. Numerous sarcosomes are present in muscle cells, and many myoglobin molecules also present. Many myoglobin molecules. What is myoglobin? Hemoglobin of the muscle cell is called myoglobin. Many myoglobin molecules are present which facilitates continuous aerobic respiration. Which facilitate continuous aerobic respiration. Here myoglobin is the oxygen storing pigment. It contains oxygen storing pigment, nothing but hemoglobin. Hemoglobin of the muscle cell is called myoglobin. What are sarcosomes? Mitochondria of the muscle cells. Here cardiac muscle cell is highly resistant to Fatigue, highly resistant to fatigue. Why? It is because of the presence of numerous sarcomeres, sarcosomes, numerous sarcosomes, nothing but mitochondria, and many molecules of myoglobin, oxygen storing pigment, for example hemoglobin, which facilitates continuous aerobic respiration. So muscle cell, so in muscle cell there is no fatigue, it is highly resistant to fatigue. This is about the cardiac muscle. Okay, in next class we will discuss multipolar neuron and Haversian system. Okay.